Today, we are tackling the topic of developing your sales playbook. Next month will be Kelly Byrne joining us on the topic of marketing, which I'll touch on later at the end of this hour. But let me introduce our guests. Michael Wolaver and Steve Baker are with Magellan Promotions out of Milwaukee. Michael and Steve, can you wave your hand just so we can see where you guys are at over there? And Steve decided to wear a tie today because, what was it, Steve? You said...
So I'm a University of Minnesota alumni, and our football coach, PJ Fleck, always wears a tie to dress up for things that are important. And so wanted to up for the skummunity today.
For those of us that haven't seen a tie in 12 months, that's what one looks like right there. Let me introduce our friends. Michael Wolaver was a political science major at Marquette, then went to work for Danaher, a $22 billion Fortune 500 company. He earned his MBA in the process and then decided to start Magellan Promotions in 2005. What Michael brought from Danaher was pretty astounding, some pretty astounding business practices that he honed to fit the ship at Magellan, which is why we're chatting with him today. He's someone who is obsessed about the sales process. Some of you might remember me interviewing Michael before. So Michael, welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Steve Baker is the University of Minnesota alum, as he mentioned, who then went to work for the university for 10 years. He was a client of Magellan's and he joined the team about a year ago. So it's a really cool story. Very thankful for you guys being here. One thing I want to mention about the way we've organized this, Kate put the worksheet that we'll be using for the breakout in the chat. You'll see that at the very top of the chat. One of the things that we did, we broke up this worksheet into 3 parts. One was for our breakout. One was for you to work on your own with your team, actually. And then the last part is some of Michael's thoughts and tips. The worksheet was built around this conversation that we're going to have today. And we'll touch on that a little bit more here in a minute. But guys, welcome again. You have continually tweaked the sales playbook that you have. But over the past year, as we were talking about this, you made some really significant changes to it that really amped the energy around sales and your team. But did it in a way that was tactical and trackable. Can you describe your sales playbook and how it's changed over the past 12 months?
Sure. Maybe I'll kick it off. It was kind of an interesting story. So we were meeting every quarter as we do to assess, what projects can we work on or implement to improve the business. And one of those was thinking about how do we onboard our new clients and kind of bring them into the fold to engage them. We also work with a number of colleges and universities as our clients. So also thinking about how do we bring on those clients at schools that we've become licensed to work with. And I had been working on these plans on how to engage and create sales and connect with them. And Michael and I were connecting and, Michael goes, Steve, we should really just think about our overall client engagement plan and how do we engage with all of our clients to get that big, Michael likes to say sometimes our 30,000 or 150,000 foot overview of how we're working with all of our clients. And that's how we started the discussion around revisiting and updating our sales engagement plan. But Michael, I don't know if you want to share any more in depth about that.
Yeah, it was I started the business back in 2005. We never actually had a written sales plan down as to how we engage with every single client. And with Steve being with us, and that was his job, we realized that we were just very inconsistent in how we did it. So we like to say what we did was we ate the elephant. And we spent 2 or 3 months, at least it felt like that long, creating what we did. Amazon does these written narratives, and when they have their business plans. And I have a cousin who works there, and he talked me through it. And so we created 11-page document, Steve? 14-page document. That became our sales engagement plan. And we said it ate the elephant because we just kept getting deeper so we could fully understand what we were doing and why.
What was it, Michael, you mentioned something to me before that you had a plan, but one of the things was it was like difficult to get traction. It didn't like really engage the entire team. I think that's one of our challenges in this business is that we'll have a sales plan, we'll have sales goals, but they don't gain traction literally in our day-to-day or in our week-to-week. How did that change for you over the past 12 months? What was the shift for you?
Yeah, so really what we've done over the past 12 months, I think, is we've worked to not only just create the sales engagement plan, but we created something. What I learned at Danaher was something called Boing Charts. And what that was is basically it's a way to track all your deliverables that you want to be looking at, and how we can bring everyone together from production side to our marketing side to our sales side, and making sure that we have our firm metrics that we're looking at, and understand what's really important. And so on the sales side, that helped us when we went through the sales engagement plan, was to really understand exactly what metrics are truly important to the organization, and also how other metrics that the other departments have, how they help our sales as well. So part of that sales engagement plan, we list specifically in there what marketing does to help Steve in his job. And that helps us get better clarity as to what marketing does to make sure that it's feeding Steve.
Let me ask this, just, and maybe I'm the only one in the room that thinks that in terms of linguistics, sales playbook, customer engagement plan, we're talking about the same thing, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. And you actually reduced, I remember a note, you actually reduced the number of touches that you make per contact. Let's back up a little bit. You helped set the sales goals for the organization as well as the team. So that's in tandem. And then what you end up building was this, how are we going to get there type of approach? And that's basically what this is a roadmap, right?
Exactly. Yeah, do you want to touch on that, Steve?
Yeah. To your question, Bobby, about our touches with our clients, I'd been reaching out to clients a number of times each month. And, we got some engagement, some responses, some folks interested in connecting with us. But then we kind of took a step back to look at who are we reaching out to, thinking about something I've heard in some of the common SKU events I've attended, that 80-20 rule, right? Thinking about what clients have the most opportunities for us, and just being more targeted and specific with our approach, and to reach out to those clients and what those outreaches look like. What are we providing? What resources? What questions are we asking? So it resulted in having me do less outreaches per month to our clients, but had higher results in terms of responses and engagement from our clients. So we reduced the number of touches, but made it more strategic, and that resulted in a higher result in engagement from our clients.
It sounds like you created this, like a lot of us will create a sales plan and a marketing plan, and those two never meet. And it almost sounds like your goal was to get these places connected. That alleviated you, Steve, because now marketing and sales were working in tandem with one another.
Exactly.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on it, looking at what has been working for us. And that's when we sat on a whiteboard virtually with me and the whiteboard and Steve in his Zoom computer, but me showing the whiteboard and me writing on there, like, what has been working for us and why, and really try to understand that. So when we create our sales engagement plan, we're fully clear as to what we want to do and why.
Can you give me an example, Michael, of what some of those things that were really working for you guys and in your favor?
Yeah, so we know that when we're meet with clients, and if we meet with them multiple times, our chance of us having a good relationship with them goes way up. And I know it sounds like, of course of course that makes sense. But at the end of the day, if someone's not responding back to us in emails, then we can't continue to send them emails, personal emails, because they're just not interested in us. And we just have to learn to go, you know what? We just move on to the next people. And these are the groups that if they're engaging back with us, we have to make sure we have to find a way to set meetings with them, to build that relationship, to get stronger with them, because that, with our model as to how we operate as a distributorship, that's what shows how we act as a company. That's who's important to us. And that's what we made sure our sales and our planning match that.
So on that point, you developed a client ranking system and a scorecard. Can you kind of share what some of those parameters are?
Yeah, Steve, you want to take that?
Yeah, you bet. So we had one before, and we revisited that to look at clients that have engaged with us. We've looked at also clients and their potential. And so we utilized a lot of our insights from experience working with clients, certain type of clients from certain types of institutions or departments that we know have high potential, to then develop a ranking in terms of what's their sales potential, what opportunities do we know typically are associated with these types of clients, to then rank them that way. So we could focus on the ones with a higher ranking that have a higher opportunity for us.
Was
I don't
some
know
of
if
that
that answered the question.
Yeah, it made sense. Was some of the categorization by industry and then by gross sales volume potential, or those some of the different buckets that you had?
Yeah, so we looked at sales potential, and then we also looked at what category they fell into in terms of type of client from a certain college or university, let's say, and a certain department that we know we had some good opportunity with.
Yeah, basically it's just making assumptions about basically looking at them and what they do and what type, like if it's looking at a university, knowing what department it is, knowing what size the school is, we can understand what their upside is here versus this school, their upside is here. So they get this type of rank and this one gets this type of rank. So we do make as many assumptions as we could based off of the historical knowledge that we have.
And clarify the Boing chart.
Yeah. So the bowling chart, so it's called the bowling chart because it looks like a bowling, like your old school bowling chart or a bowling scorecard that you would have. And so, for example, one of Steve's metrics is number of meetings to have per month. And so we have a number that goes across every single month as to what he needs to hit. And then each month for January, February, March, he puts in his actuals. And if we don't hit it, then we color code it. And then he has an action plan as to how to work next month to work, how is he going to get back onto goal? And there's also a total, so we can also track how you're not just did in that month, but year to date overall to the goals. And so Steve has, I think, 6 different metrics that he works off of.
Can you rattle some of those off real quick, Steve?
Number of meetings, quotes from outreach, sales from conferences, sales from meetings, new A clients. So looking at how many new of those high potential clients, it might actually be 5.
That's great. So a couple of things that I'm taking away so far. Number one, you had, like a lot of us do, we have a sales playbook, but it's in our head, or it's maybe in 1 or 2 personalities' head. The rest of the team doesn't know anything about it. You had a disparate system, so you mapped those together where marketing and sales are working in tandem. And now you have, one of the things I think probably everyone wants to know, how do you organize all this? You're talking about a 16-page document, which I do agree with, because at least you've got this down and codified as opposed to walking around with it in your head. I mean, we sell 1 million products. We can't keep 3 products in our head, much less our sales playbook. So how do you guys manage all this? How do you organize it? And that's not a plug for commonsku. Most everybody here is a commonsku user, but that does factor in. What are the different tools you use?
Yeah. Michael, do you mind if I jump in here on this?
You got it.
Okay. So we're a big Google, company. So we've used Google Sheets to organize our actual plan, which was great for sharing and with the rest of the team. And I know a lot of our team, even not directly involved in sales, found it really helpful, especially in that narrative format, to just get the whole story, picture, understanding, and see how their roles and their work fit into our overall sales or client engagement plan. But honestly, and I'm not just saying this because this is this community meetup, but commonsku has been awesome. And when I first started, coming from an admissions and recruitment background, I would have students that I would reach out to, and we had a roster of students, or in this case clients, that I wanted to reach out to. And so I asked Michael, I was like, is there a way we could build a report or a roster of clients for me to reach out to each month? commonsku. It was awesome. So it's been so great for us to implement our client ranking, utilize the tagging feature in commonsku so I can tag the clients that I want to reach out to each month. And then every month I pull the report, the clients I want to reach out to, pull up their client profile, access notes from previous conversations, put in notes from current conversations. It's just been so helpful for me and my work and my role to just have my contacts, my clients organized in a way that's really useful and impactful.
And the only other piece I'll add on to that is that before we joined commonsku, which was a year ago, and I thank Mark Graham for introducing it to me a long time ago, and it took me a long time to finally join on. But before we had a CRM company called Maximizer, who's out of Canada as well, and QuickBooks. And since the sales didn't talk to each other, we had a really hard time understanding the full, how truly well a client could be doing for us, because we have to cross-reference things, and it was just really a process where commonsku doing that all together has made our ability to see data and understand what we're doing much clearer. And so we're very appreciative of that.
Can you give us an example of how you're using things like tagging? It's like a great example of how you track good clients, and really how's that broken down by audience?
Yeah. So for the tags, we have it set up where all of our clients that we want to reach out to each month have a month tag. So a January, February, March, and then I can use the sales target report to pull all clients with, we're actually working on this now with like the April tag, and I can see all the clients that I'm going to be reaching out to next month. And it's also great because it pulls, the sales number. So I can see where they're at, what our goal is, how much do we have until we reach the goal. We've also utilized it for like if they receive any marketing mailings or any of our email marketing campaigns that we utilize, so we can make sure that we're staying in front of our clients and staying top of mind, even if it's not a direct outreach from Steve Baker, right? Like they're still getting something from Magellan. Conferences obviously have been a challenge this past year, but utilizing that for conferences that we attended so we can see how we connected with people, or any webinars that we're hosting. So it's a great way for us to track where our clients are coming from, how we got connected with them, what marketing efforts they're a part of, and also for me to pull those reports when I'm reaching out to them.
How do you guys answer the question, the pushback from someone that says, this sounds like a lot of work?
And I tell Steve, just keep working harder on it, and we'll get
Well, that's a really valid point, because when we first started this conversation, I was like, Michael, I feel like we've got a huge elephant in front of us. So it's like, how do we do this? And I was thinking of that old story, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. But that was kind of a first piece. Sorry, Michael, I kind of cut you off. I get all excited, so I just kind of get going.
That's fine.
No, it's really, we basically said we're going to put part of what we're doing on hold for a little bit, because in order for us to move forward, we have to have this right, because we were broken. We realized we are not reaching out to people we should be reaching out to. And that's not a good long-term solution. So we needed it to be correct in order for us to be successful. And since we reset it, we are very, very pleased with our cadence for how we're outreaching. Steve's results have been really strong, and we know we're going to reach out to everyone that we want to reach out to this year. So we're glad we took that time.
The equilibrium you have over knowing that a lot of us have this book of business and these clients, and the number one reason why a client fires someone in the promotional products business is because they say they don't give us enough ideas. What that means is they're not giving us enough attention. So you have these clients that we don't pay attention to until you get an order. And so a lot of us get that wake up call. We got to do something different. Michael, what's interesting about you is that you guys were growing prior to last year. You guys were growing at a rapid click every year. And so it wasn't as if you had a broken system. What's kind of cool about it is you just decided you needed sort of more of a high octane push.
Right. Yeah. We outgrew. So we have, there's 11 of us, but I was the salesperson, and we outgrew the ability to do all of that. And then so we brought on Steve, but we didn't have a great system for Steve to implement. So that's, but it was great that we did, because we needed that plan a long time ago. I just never addressed it.
Michael, how's that helped you as a leader see what's going on with sales business? How's that helped your own peace of mind, knowing that you guys are working toward growing the business? How's that improved your headspace?
Yeah, it's improved tremendously, because me being the owner, there's lots of different things that I need to be involved in, and knowing that we have Steve to have a perfect plan that we know we're going to hit who we need to hit and why, because we couldn't always articulate that, and our activities didn't always, and my own activities when I did it didn't always match that. And so now we have a fully thought out plan that when we implement it, and as we are implementing it, we know we have that mind space that we are doing what we need to be doing. And if it's broken, if it's not working, we have at least documented so we can continue to tweak it and change it and make it better. So because we understand the end goal and the processes we have in place. So it's really processed out, which really helps us tremendously. And
it's not one and done, right? It's a living and breathing document, and you're changing it all the time.
Yes. Exactly. Steve and I and Rachel, who I saw was on this, met earlier today about part of a process that we're like, we just got to make sure we're all on the same page, how we're tracking these tags, because we want to make sure we understand the activity of our marketing and our sales, how it's affecting the business and what we are doing and why.
How often do you guys get together to go over, is this a weekly meeting, monthly? How do you stay on track and sort of keep each other accountable to staying on track?
So one of the things that we do, we actually have a profitability board that we track on a daily basis through a Google Sheet. And we've been doing that for over 10 years. And the team does an outstanding
I remember that. Yeah.
updating it. And we use Slack to let us know how we're doing. So the team knows on a daily basis what our weekly goal and how we're going towards that. And then on Mondays, we always sit down as a team and talk about how we did the previous week and looking at our numbers, how many quotes we did, how many orders. On a monthly basis, Steve, myself, and two people from marketing and our head of production get together, and we talk about the Boing Chart. And they each has their own Boing Chart, and they all present at the same all together, and so everyone gets to hear how we're doing across the business. And then quarterly, we meet as a team and then review the quarterly goals, the quarterly numbers, and what activities are we doing the next quarter to affect it.
And if I could jump in maybe with one other point too, the monthly metric meeting that we have is really helpful on a number of levels. I mean, it's great to see your own progress and kind of assess where you're at. It's also great to see how your work is impacting the rest of the team and how the other team's work impacts yours and how it all comes together. But it's also a great opportunity for us to strategize as a team. So thinking about this past year has been challenging with conferences. So we can get together and see where are our sales at from clients we've connected with at conferences, and what other strategies could we implement to help affect or move the needle, in that metric, which is really helpful to have that collaborative space to look at where we're at and how we can improve and move forward.
That's really cool. I have far more questions than we have time, but we have got like 3 minutes before we head into breakout. Guys, any last words before we split?
Steve, I'll let you go first.
I guess really quick, I think it was really helpful to just take the time and do that deep dive into our engagement plan, our sales process, to just have a understanding, because there's so many different facets and components and different types of clients that you could have. And it was really helpful for me to have that full understanding in my role, but also I think for us as a company and all of our team members to have that understanding. So it was work, it took time, but I think it was worth it on so many levels.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add is that it was painful because but you can write a metric as to, we need to have more meetings. But no, let's define, why does that matter? Like, well, we know why it matters. Like, no, let's write it down. Why does this matter? So we are just very clear on every point in there so we can learn, and we learned so much during it, and uncovered, like, wait a minute, this person comes to us in this way versus this way. How are we treating them, or why are we treating that person differently than this person?
Yeah.
And so that really helped us, even though it was painful, but it was good long term.
The thing I keep hearing over and over is clarity. Just the clarity you guys have gotten by working through this process. We'll be back after our breakouts to thank you guys officially, but thank you for this interview. Really appreciate your